Breaking up is hard to do. Today we're talking about companies and brands and their advertising partners and agencies and what that means for you and your project. Today on Knew Amsterdam Radio. I gotta say, Knew Amsterdam Radio is brought to you in part by Anchor FM. Have you ever thought about making your own podcast? You see, when I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show into all the apps people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? And most importantly, I don't want to deal with cables and wires and all those things. You see, the answer to every single one of these questions is pretty simple. Anchor. Anchor is the one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. And best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And you can use your phone, which is pretty awesome. Now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. So if you ever wanted to start a podcast and make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start. That's anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. Happy New Year, everyone. 2020 is here. I didn't think it was possible. I thought after 2000, the world just stopped counting. Hey, everyone, it's Flobo Boyce. This is Knew Amsterdam Radio, the podcast for people like yourselves, creative individuals who are working on their own projects. And we're looking for a bit of inspiration in the world around us. As always, I want to thank you for checking out this episode and other episodes and telling your friends about the show. It's been a pleasure. There's 37 of these things now, and we've been out there for a little bit over a year. I got to get on it as far as more consistently uploading and recording new episodes, but the idea is the same. At every episode, whether you're on your lunch break or between client meetings, a little slice of wisdom and a little knowledge, maybe just an idea, way to you to reevaluate yourself as a creator and the projects you're working on. Now, my holiday is pretty low key. I think I mentioned it before. I'm kind of working on this other YouTube podcast series. I say podcast because it's basically a camera in front of me. There's no cutaways or camera tricks, just me talking to the camera. It's called What's Up Flobo, and that's been fun. I think I'm recording episode 10 today, so we're just rolling, man. The idea is getting the content out there, let more people know about what I do, not only as a performer, but as a creative content creator as well. Yeah, but I know we all have plans and resolutions, and I hope you do too. I'm not sure if you're in a resolution state of mind. Don't be in a revolution state of mind. That's something else. But some people don't do it. Some people do. I do. I always interpret my resolutions as a bucket list, objectives for the year and all that. But whatever you celebrate, as far as aligning your goals, let's hope you do it. It's early yet. It may be frustrating carrying in some of 2019's drama and problems, but time is on your side. And that's what we're here for. That's what I'm here for. And that's what Knew Amsterdam Radio is here for. Make sure you catch this episode and other episodes, wherever you're streaming your podcast, Spotify, now on Spreaker, YouTube. This thing is everywhere, man. It is everywhere. Today, we are going to talk to you about creative reviews and agencies of records. In fact, there's a growing trend here in advertising where people or companies are more fluid in their relationships with the other agencies they trust to handle their marketing, advertising, and branding messages. And what does that have to do with you? Welcome back. A couple days ago, I was watching a commercial. It was this very futuristic military commercial. People were click-clacking on laptops, and they were, soldiers putting on their helmets and going out to war, and there was graphical overlays and made it look like it was happening inside Iron Man's helmet, And I was saying to myself, wow, this looks pretty futuristic. I'm going to go with the Air Force because that's the youngest military branch, and that's the one that usually says it claims to defend airspace and cyberspace, even though the Space Force may be cut off from the Air Force at some point in the future. But when it was all said and done, the logo that flashed on the screen was the Army. And that really threw me off because for as long as I can remember, the Army had a very single message. It was more pushing the harmonizing, the collaboration, the heroes of past and present kind of a thing. It was almost like Garrett Sinise was always on the voiceover saying that they're not only strong, they're army strong kind of a thing. And I said, I wonder what changed. And I was looking up online. It turns out that the U.S. Army switched their marketing and branding partner in 2018. So this is the new messaging from that new partner. And I got to thinking. I said, well, there's so many different companies out there that are taking the old agency of record model and flipping it. Now, let's take a step back. What does that actually mean? Well, when a company, back in the old days of advertising, the John Draper era, there were companies that would subscribe to these organizations and say, hey, look, I would handle the marketing, the branding, the interpretation of your message on all different platforms. Now, granted, this is the days before social media, but the idea was the same, right? Find a nice logo, find a nice look and feel for your ads. This is why a Chevrolet feels different than a Mercedes based on advertising, not just their advertising, not the quality of the cars themselves. And for a long time, there really was a long-term partnership. It's, hey, work with us. We're going to build your brand over a couple of years. And at the end of our contract, usually 20 years or 10 years or maybe even 5 years, they will go and reevaluate and what works and what doesn't. And that usually rolled into very fruitful long-term relationships. And this was usually called the agency of record. If you're there long enough, overseeing a brand long enough, you were considered an agency of record. Now, with the shifting paradigms of everything, with post the MTV era and the gig economy and everyone's really out for themselves, if I'm being cynical, that idea is pretty much being tossed to the wayside. These companies now are looking more of a short-term pop for their products and services. And they even go further and say, hey, look, people are looking for an agency for a rollout or for a summer promotion or for a seasonal thing. And the idea is that now these long-term growth kind of collaborations and partnerships are now being shifted. And it wasn't just in advertising. We saw that 10 years ago in music, or 20 years ago in music, where if you were signed to a label, they kind of gave you 2 albums or 3 albums to really find your voice, and then you were dropped. Now it's kind of like, oh, that second single is not working. Let's put you in the back of that tour lineup. But it really just blew my mind because, again, I had associated, back to my Army example, the Army commercials and advertising with a certain look and feel, kind of like this retro throwback. Here's pictures of old heroes. You're signing up to be part of history and the American fabric. And it's totally shifted into more or less presenting the Army as a superhero task force with graphics and cool gear and all that stuff. And I guess you have to appeal to a certain demographic, those being 17, 18, 19-year-olds, and that has to change. But to me, that was almost jarring because I've seen the old agency of record here. So what can you do? Well, the crux of these changes centers around the creative review. That's when the client sits down, they measure their goals and expectations with the agency, and they decide whether or not they want to continue or move forward. Very good thing to do. I'm always a fan of content reviews or content audits. When you have your idea, your look and feel, your rollout, your brand, assuming you're handling your brand work yourself, saying, hey, this doesn't work, this kind of content works, let's focus on this, let's cut this. But if those of us who have a little bit of success, and we have an outside vendor that's working on our t-shirt designs or working on our social media post or is more of a hype person of PR, it's always a good practice to sit there and really evaluate if this person is doing a good job. Can you do better? Is there someone out there willing to take your brand into a different perspective? And in fact, don't be shy of doing that. Don't be shy of, even though you have a long-term artist, hey, if you have a second artist who's willing to talk to, obviously don't solicit them for your work. That's totally not cool. But then if you talk to them what the brand is, and if they're interested in learning more, if they're willing to collaborate, there's nothing wrong with that. If you have a certain app that helps you manage your client role. My DJ business, I know I don't make the show about me all the time, but in my DJ business, I used to have a very, very intricate, elaborate, and maybe convoluted system of handling emails and contracts. I would send like a PDF and ask clients to sign it and then send it. And I did that because it was free. It costed me nothing but my time. But I switched to a CRM last year, or a customer relationship management system, not a content management system, where I can just click a couple buttons, send out a template contract. They can sign accordingly, digitally, and I have it backed up. And it's been a lifesaver, time saver, and it keeps all my projects in order. I'm not doing the daily, okay, let's just review my emails and see what days I'm missing sort of thing. It's always good to do that. I took a time to review and I said, look, I am good, but I'm not efficient. This app is. It's going to suck when the promotional rate for this app goes away in about 2 months, but there definitely is an upside in using that. So always look at a creative review as far as that, what's making your life easier, your brand easier, your tools easier, the venues that let you display your artwork, or the venues that let you perform. Are these good for you? It's always great to have a creative review, because at the end of the day, you are the custodian of your work. You are the first, last, and only line of defense of making your brand or your product or your service top tier, world class, or a flash in the pan. So it's always good to have a creative review. And it's always good to say, even with long-term relationships, that it's okay to go in a different direction. And it can be amicable as well, because we don't know. These large RH agencies love the purse, but they also want to be needed and wanted as well. They don't want to be stuck with you by default. So if someone's not cutting the mustard, then by all means, make the call. That's all the time we have for this episode of Knew Amsterdam Radio. Check out this episode and other episodes wherever you get your podcasts. We're talking Spotify, Spreaker, YouTube, Google Play, iTunes. I'm a Spotify guy myself, but I'm just kind of biased. You can follow me over on Twitter at Flobo Boyce, or on Instagram at Flobito, or DJ Flobito. And my website, of course, is flobito.com. That's FLOBITO.com. We'll be back soon with a brand new episode, another tale from the city of creatives, the city of you. This is Knew Amsterdam Radio. Until next time, the city is yours.